Okay, today is, or just a minute. I'm securing the dog. You're a good girl, huh? I got you. I got you. No, I got you. I got you. Okay, so today I recorded all of the dogs that I groomed, and I'm publishing, so I individually recorded all the dogs, and then I'm publishing so that people can see what it's really like grooming dogs. I've included my bad dogs and my good dogs. This is Riley. She's a 6-year-old Standard Poodle, and she's one of my good dogs. Riley's had every haircut you can imagine, including I attempted a continental on her, which didn't look very good. But so right now the mom is taking her on a lot of hikes and a lot of walks, so she doesn't want this big top knot anymore. So today we're going to try. We've never done that before, where we cut off her top knot and did it really short. So tucked her to doing 1 inch to see how she likes that, and if it's too long still, then we'll go ahead and take it shorter. So Riley has already been bathed and dried. My bather's gone home for the day, so I can actually hear myself. So I'll probably chat through this video. So if you don't want to hear me talk, you can always mute it. But then I don't. Why would you be listening to it? But anyways, the point of these videos is to show clients and show people who aren't groomers what it's really like to be a groomer. The behaviors that we typically have to deal with in a day, every day, and how we handle those. So 2 of the dogs I did this morning are biters. One didn't bite me, and I don't think he tried either. I don't think Groomer tried to bite me. Normally he does. Oh no, he did try to bite. And then I had a new dog, a little Yorkie, who I didn't know was a naughty dog because this is the first time grooming him. And so he tried to bite me multiple times. So it was showing, real life what a groomer does when they deal with the dog who is trying to bite him. I believe in being calm. Dogs are going to respond to my energy. If I'm feeling stressed out and nervous, if I'm feeling rushed, it's going to reflect in them. I will oftentimes be grooming a dog and think, why is this dog is normally really good, why is the dog being naughty? And then realize that I'm stressed out about something or I'm feeling rushed. And the dog is reflecting that stress. So I have to reevaluate and just kind of get in the moment and stop worrying about whatever I'm worrying about. I am a holistic groomer in the sense that I care about the mind, body, and every aspect of the dog. So I'm very conscious in how I touch them. When I first started out grooming, I did not go to a school that taught humane handling. And at the time, I had no exposure to the grooming community, so I didn't know that that wasn't normal. You don't push a dog off the table if the dog's misbehaving. You don't do what's called an alpha roll if a dog is being aggressive. An alpha roll is when you flip the dog onto their side and you hold them down until they submit. That's what I was taught, and so that's what I thought groomers did. And a lot of people assume that's what groomers do, and there are groomers that do that. But at some point I had an epiphany, and I realized that for my job to be easier, the dogs need to trust me. And that's not going to happen when I'm being so dominant and I'm being so aggressive to them and I'm throwing them on the table and forcing them down. They're not going to trust me. They're going to be afraid of me. And a dog that's afraid is a dog that's going to bite. A dog that's afraid is going to be a dog that doesn't ever want to come to be groomed. And so I had to change my whole handling, how I approached the dog. Everything about what I was doing with the dog, I had to relearn. And handling the dog is not one of those things that's really taught for groomers. It's not really discussed about, how to deal with difficult dogs. And so I started from the beginning thinking about how would I feel if I were not a vet, but if I was at the dentist and the dentist, was grabbing me and yanking me around, and I wouldn't like that. So I try to, when I'm touching a dog, I try to make it more like petting, because that feels good to a dog. So I don't care. Some groomers are like, I've already fluffed this dog up, don't touch it. And I don't care about that. This isn't a show dog. This isn't a competition groom. It's not even going to be competition quality. What I care about is how Riley is experiencing this groom. So when I pick up their feet, I'm more likely, I start up here, I run my arms down, and then I put a little pressure, and that allows her to prepare to shift her weight and to prepare herself for her lifting up the leg. So even though my bather combs out the dog, I always go through one last time. I'm using a finishing spray by Isle of Dogs. Utah's really dry, so we deal with a lot of static electricity. When I'm combing the dog, I have to remember that I'm combing the hair, not the skin. So you'll notice that I'm running it almost parallel, kind of at an angle, because I want to glide it along the skin. So I'm gliding it along the skin. I'm not dragging it and ripping it down the skin. I'm not forcing it into the skin. I just want to catch all the hairs and make sure there's no tangles. I'm not yanking on the hair. If there's a tangle, I'll work on it little by little. I can switch to the brush until there's a tangle right there. I'm using gentle pressure. I have a very sensitive scalp, so when my mom combed out my hair when I was a kid, I used to scream because it hurt. And so I kind of use that to, to empathize with the dog, so that, how would I feel if I was yanking through my hair this way? I wouldn't like it, so I'm not going to do it for the dogs. Okay. So she combed out pretty good. So I typically start with the finer details, the details I use with my Bravura. I don't always start in the same place. Just kind of depends. And I try to, so there's a rule of thumb for setting the bottom of it, so to know where to start, start in the palm, is that it's right underneath the bum. So you can see that's a good inch and a half below. I've tried to move this up. The owner trims it at home, so they don't want it set so far up. I call this the popsicle, when you've got all this length of tail and then a palm up there, but it's okay. The owner likes it. It doesn't have to be correct. Now I'm shaving around the bum. This is a really touchy area because a lot of times lifting up the tail like this will trigger the dog to sit down. And if they sit down on top of your clippers, it can nick their bum. And it's not generally something that has to go to a vet, but it bleeds and it hurts, so try to avoid that. I am not a competition groomer. I tried to do competition, but I was just too stressed out and ended up crying in the ring. And anybody who knows me knows I do not like crying in front of people, and I was crying in front of about 100 people, so it was not a good experience. I'm shaving out between the I call that the sanitary area. And I'm going to start on her feet. And you can tell how good she is. She just don't think I started Riley as a puppy, but I did start grooming her pretty early on. So Riley's very familiar with every groomer, holds a dog and touches a dog differently. And I typically, when I talk to clients, I recommend that they find a groomer they like and stick with the groomer. And that's not to ensure my business, but that's for the benefit of the dog. Because a dog that, if she's comfortable and familiar with how I touch and move the dog, she's going to be a lot more relaxed. If she goes to somebody new, she's going to be left secure in that grooming, more nervous. There's always a certain bit of, am I talking? There's always a little bit of nervousness and anxiety for a dog being groomed. You can tell she's not relaxed at all. She doesn't like what I'm doing with her feet. It's not that I'm hurting her, it's just that I'm lifting her foot up, I'm moving it around. See your foot? The environment's different from a different groom shop to another groom shop. I work with one bather, so we chat during the day. The bather is a musician, and so, in the middle of the day, in the middle of bathing a dog, she'll burst out singing, and it doesn't faze the dogs because they're used to that, because that's not new to them. I've got a cat that stays in the shop here. And again, it doesn't faze the dogs because they're used to it. They know that this big old kitty jumps up on the table. Gives a little excitement to the room. I also have interruptions during the day. I have one little dog, the poodle, the Phoebe, I finished her and I texted her mom to let her know that Phoebe's ready. So in probably 10-15 minutes, Phoebe's mom's going to come, and I'm going to have to stop working on Riley and then go check out Phoebe's mom and make an appointment for her. And that's just a normal part of how I work and how I run my business. Other groomers do it differently. And, you know, each groomer has to figure out what works for them. I have clients that want a dog to be rushed in and out, meaning they drop off the dog, I start the dog immediately, and then they come and pick up the dog as soon as the dog's done. That is not the way I work best, though. I like the dogs to have rested in a kennel. So I've got a bank of kennels right against the wall. I don't want them anxious or excited from the car ride, the being greeted by other dogs, the having mom and dad left them. I don't want them to still be in that state of anxiousness or excitement when I start grooming them. I want them to be relaxed. 90% of the dogs, after they're dropped off, are excited and maybe they make noise and bark, but most of them settle down and relax. And that's when I want to start grooming them, is when they're relaxed. So for that reason, I don't do rush grooming. I tell new clients, one of the first things I tell them is that I am not fast, and I don't try to be fast because it stresses me out. And if I'm stressed out, I'm more likely to make a mistake and injure a dog. So I have to be in a relaxed mindset. And if I'm in a relaxed mindset, the dogs are going to be happier. So if you're coming to me for grooming, that's what's best for your dog, because that's what's best for me. Some people are really anxious, don't like their dogs being gone for very long, and I refer them to other groomers, because I know that how I groom isn't going to work for them. And I know I have plenty of friends that are one-on-one, meaning they only have one dog in their salon at a time. They work that dog and the dog goes home. The disadvantage of that is they have no flexibility. If somebody says, oh, I'm at the store and I'm going to be a half an hour, they can't do that because they have the next dog coming and they can't have their dog there while the other dog comes. So there's less flexibility in pickup and dropping off. But for some clients, you know, they're willing to pay extra for that. So I'm always, you know, I hear clients and they complain about how long a dog is at a grooming salon. And I have to explain that's not an indicator of whether or not your dog's had a good experience. Some groomers schedule all the dogs or half the dogs to show up at 8 o'clock, and then when so they'll have 10, 20 dogs showing up at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9 typically is what they do, and then they groom them in an order of showing up, and then as the dogs are finished, the clients are contacted and the dogs go home throughout the day. And then they'll have another batch of dogs being dropped off at noon. I tried that for a short period of time and then discovered that it stressed me out to have that many dogs sitting there waiting for me to groom them. So I decided that I needed to have the dogs staggered in how they're dropped off. So I have dogs dropped off every hour on the hour. So 8, 9, 10, 11, noon, and 1. But it takes me longer than an hour to groom a dog. So gradually the dogs how many dogs I have build up, and then, you know, I catch up at the end of the day. But that's what works best for me. And, you know, there's so many groomers out there that if that's not what works best for a client, then, you know, they can try other groomers to see if that works better for them, if they like their style better. I've seen lots of lists that how to find a good groomer, and it lists and they list these arbitrary things. Like one list I saw lists that there shouldn't be hair on the ground or on the table, because I noticed that those lists reflect how the person who wrote the list, what they value in grooming and what's important to them. I hate stepping on hair. I hate turning on a dryer and having hair go flying. And so I have a clipper vac that vacuums up the hair. I vacuum between every dog. My bather vacuums before every dog. So I don't have any hair on the floor. But I know groomers that you go into their shops and they've got 5 dogs deep on the floor. It doesn't bother them. And that doesn't mean they're a bad groomer. That just means that doesn't bother them. And that's not something that they see as a priority. So that's not an indicator of a good salon or a good groomer. That's an indicator of a groomer that can't stand to have hair on their foot. I tell people to get to know their groomer and to use the same groomer. I don't favor larger establishments that somebody different grooms your dog every time, because I don't think the groomer can't get to know the dog and the dog can't get to know the groomer. There are people that's not a priority for them. Because I explained more what I was doing when I was grooming Phoebe, I'm not explaining as I'm doing Riley. Because as I said, I'm not trying to make these instructional videos for other groomers more as much as I'm trying to show what it really looks like in a dog grooming salon. Somebody's snoring. I always have multiple dogs because my own dog, I have a little blind poodle that hangs out here with me. So at a minimum, I have my own poodle and then the cat who's up there. Sometimes I babysit dogs during the day. I have one little dog that I've been grooming since he was a baby, and I think he's 10 or 11 now. His mom's a teacher, and into last school year, he decided he wasn't okay with being left home alone anymore. So he started being destructive. He started digging out and escaping. And so she brings some... Hey, how you doing?
Hi, another poodle.
It's another standard poodle. It's a poodle day.
Is that male or female?
She's a girl.
Oh, she's
That's
cute.
Riley.
Hi, you.
Hey, turn so you can see Riley.
You're so pretty too. Hi. Oh,
She's a good girl.
hi, honey.
Okay, let me get this set up for you. So you can put your card up front.
Okay.
And she was a very good girl.
Awesome.
So we don't have her next appointment set up. Did you want to set it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 8 weeks.
8 weeks?
Okay, I said custom. So is this where I put the custom
Yes,
tip?
you can put in yes.
Okay.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so 8 weeks is February. I'm sorry, not February. It's 1 day left of February. That would be April 24th or 25th.
Okay.
I'm booked for the rest of the week. So that would be Friday.
We're out of town
Do you
for
want
a competition now.
to do week before or week after?
What do you have the week before? Like what date?
Week before I could do 1 o'clock on Thursday the 16th, 17th, or 18th.
1 o'clock on the 17th. Let's do that.
Oh, same day with Riley.
Oh.
You'll be back here
buddies.
with Riley. A lot of my clients do that where they line up because they're on the same schedule.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
I love your hair.
Thank you. Cute. I'm going to do it because I just turned 50, and that's pretty traumatic for me.
Is it?
Because I don't feel 50.
I'm going to turn 40 in October. Yeah.
40 was bad. 50 was so much worse.
Really?
Yeah. Because
I was turning 50.
Is he?
In June.
I just don't feel any older than 25.
Yeah,
I really genuinely don't.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to have purple hair
I love it.
for the entire year. So I
Do
even bleached my hair.
Yeah, to get it to
Yeah,
stay.
so it would be bright.
Yeah.
And I redo it every couple times a week. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
so cute.
embrace the purple.
That's right. And you're cute.
Okay.
There's
Baby, you be a good girl.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You be such a great girl.
Hey, thank you so much. You have a great weekend.
See ya.
Yeah. Okay. You see, I just checked out a client. I always, and now I can't remember where it is at. I think that back foot. I always offer to reschedule my clients because I book so far out in advance that if they want to get in sooner, let me fix it. If they need to get in, there we go, within, now if they want 6 or 8 weeks, they have to schedule before. So in 7 weeks, I literally now have 2 appointments left. 8 weeks, I have a few more. Okay, did I do? This would be the problem with interruptions for me. So then I can't remember where I got to. Did I get that foot? Foot's done. Did I get this foot? That foot's done. That foot's done. Okay, then we'll do her face. So this is the 30 length. I explained before about clipper irritation and how it's caused. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I'm literally just skimming the skin. I'm just running this along the skin without digging into it. Right? Oh yeah, I'm looking. Another thing that I have, got weird. I've got pet turkeys here because out that way is my backyard. We have a pond, and they have 3 pet turkeys. And one of the girl turkeys thinks that I'm her mate, so she comes up and visits me frequently. So the dogs also get to meet turkeys. Good girl. If you watched Phoebe's video, you can see how different it was to lift Riley's head up. I mean, I just have to barely put my finger up there and she lifted her head up. Whereas with Phoebe, she did not want to go up, and she totally resisted, so I had to use a little more pressure to get her head up. Head up. You have to shave out the flews. There's it called the flews. Flew. And so I put my finger in the corner of her mouth and kind of stretch it out. I have, in 13 years of grooming, never been bitten that way. In 13 years of grooming, I have been bit, but not very often, and I've never had a severe bite. So I've never had a bite so bad that I had to go to the doctor or I need stitches. Most of the time they're very minor, they don't even break the skin. And I attribute that to the Groomer's Helper, which is this system here that prevent the dog from whipping around and biting me. That has helped. And also I try to, because I have a set clientele, the dogs know me and I know them. So for the dogs that bite, like when I had Roman earlier, I know Roman bites, so I am, she normally has ear, yeah. She has ear infections a lot, but they look good to me today. Let's see this here. So when I know that I have a dog that's a biter, I am simply more careful, cautious around their triggers. Okay, let me get you. Head up. Good girl. Don't groom that many standard poodles. So today was a poodle day. Yes, there's Bilbo. Bilbo, did you want to move? Can you move? Bilbo, move! There you go. I'm going to let you into the house, Bilbo. How's that? Come, Bilbo. Okay, so I've got that detail work done. I am now going to do the nails. Again, I use a Dremel. Bilbo, you comb out your mats. So even though her nails are, remember that Phoebe's nails were white, Riley's are black, but right before the quick, right there, it gets softer. So I can feel that change. So very seldom do I take it too short. I did with the little dog Willie this morning, and I had to use, had to stop it. It was very minor because it just barely touched it. If you leave the dog nails too long, then that vein that's inside of the nail grows longer. So I try to get them as short as I possibly can. You can see her nails are still pretty long though. Alright, let's get your back. Most dogs have an aversion to be having their nails clipped. And I think that is because if you don't have a really sharp nail clipper, it squishes that nail, that vein inside, and it makes it uncomfortable. Whereas most dogs aren't familiar with the Dremel, so it's a new thing to them. So even though it's noisy and it vibrates, they generally are better for it. Because it's also easier to do this without making it unpleasant. Okay, so I'm going to show you once I take this cap off that it's full of all the nail dust. So you can see that. So instead of flying up in the air, getting everywhere, I dump that in the garbage. So as I said, we're going really short on Riley's head. And as much as I dislike, or I struggle with top knots, I really dislike shorter heads. But that's okay. We'll see how this looks. So I'm going to run a 1-inch clip-on comb. And they have an occiput. Oh, you got a bump. She's got a little bump. Maybe a sebaceous cyst right there. But they've got I know, why the rude kitty. So they've got a bone right on the top of their head that's quite pokes out, the occiput. And I don't want to, so I think I'm going to start at the front and go back. Because I don't want it to be too short or that's going to really poke out. I don't know what you want, Bilbo. He'll do this when he wants to eat lunch or wants a potty break. But he has access to the house now, so he can. Oh. So I'm going to shape it. I'm not running this right to the skin. Now you go down. Because of that bone. So I'm just going to skim it and then run it over. And I can tell by the sound that my clipper back is full. So I'm going to empty that out. Turn this so I don't know if you can see it, but it has a front cover. And this will be a day's worth of dog hair. So let's see if you can see that. So there's all the dog hair from the day. And this doesn't gross me out because this is all clean hair. Because I don't clip, oops, you can see that. Because I only clip dogs when they're clean. So okay. Just put it right in the garbage. Much more sanitary. Don't normally do this for an audience, so I'm ready to go. Okay, so I'll probably turn this a little bit there. So taking off most of our top knot. We do a 1/2 inch on the body. So anytime I'm using a blade length, and when I'm talking about a blade, this is a blade. You can see it's really thick. This is where it sets the length it cuts, whereas this is a clip-on comb, so this is actually designed to go on a shorter blade. When I do a blade length, I always start with a blade size 2 steps longer. So this is a 3/4 inch blade. And I'm going to take off most of the hair with this length first. And again, this is a contour cut, which means I'm doing same length all over the body. So I am just using the blade to follow the contours of her body. I still follow the direction of the growth of the hair. I just am going opposite the growth of the hair instead of with the growth of the hair. You can see I roll, I don't know if you, I roll the body so that it's hair, so that the skin doesn't wrinkle. Sometimes I pull it, not pulling hard so that won't hurt. And right now you can see how choppy that is. That's because I'm not trying to make it look pretty on this pass. I'm just trying to get most of the hair off. Use my glasses because I can see better with them. Okay. So going in reverse is really good about getting all that hair off. It's not good about getting it even. So finish looking on her neck. Put your head down. Head down. Okay, then I'm going to switch to the actual length that I want to do, which is a 3-blade. 3-blade leaves it about a 1/2 inch. Going with the grain leaves a much smoother haircut, and that's why I always finish going with the grain. Or I put her back in the grooming loop. Her neck. Got a hair splinter in the tip of my thumb. So when hair's cut, it leaves a really sharp little edge, and you work your way into the skin. And having a clipper that cuts down on that, but not completely. Good girl. Okay. Running this clipper very flat against the skin. By doing it flat, let's see if I can show you. By doing it flat against the skin, it prevents the teeth from jamming into the dog, because that kind of hurts. And I will, until she's sitting, there's some areas like doing the back that it's much easier to do while she's sitting. Some groomers are very strict about their dogs, wanting their dogs to stand the entire time. But I'm not. I let them sit. There are certain areas that I can't do if they're sitting, and that's the only time I make them stand. I don't let them sit down. So you see, there's no way I can get the bottom of her rump very well. Can you see that? There we go. don't know if you can tell the quality of the video, but when I'm going with the grain, how even and flush it makes it versus going against the grain. So Riley's had every clip under the sun. She's been kind of my experimental, gonna try out new styles. Her owner's younger. I think she got Riley when she was 15, and so she wanted to try out all different types of trims. Oh, Angus is showing up. Maybe sitting a Westie. Looks like he's just back there. So get ready for the madness for a minute. Angus is obsessed with Bilbo, which is why we're going to grab Bilbo and put him in the house. Come here, Bilbo. Wake up. I know. Wake up. I know. Okay, so here's Bilbo. Bilbo's going in the house. Say bye, Bilbo. You're okay. How you doing?
Oh, this? Probably 15 years ago. I'm so sorry. We got I thought, oh, I hope Kim hasn't had to go to a kickboxing class.
I don't have it on Fridays anyway.
We had a problem with some building materials. Angus, stop it. And I didn't even have time to, Angus, hold still, to put some food for him. So
That's fine, I can feed.
thank
I've
you
got-
very
I use
much. Just feed him whatever.
Pet Curian. So, and it's a really good food. So.
Whatever.
Hey, Angus, you're looking pretty dirty.
I bet he is. I
There
don't
you-
know how much of this is Angus and how much of this is fur, but I suspect a fair amount of it is Angus.
Are you being tubby?
Well, I think Fred gives him treats.
Oh, you're okay.
Should I just put him in one
Yeah,
of these?
you put him there. I'm almost done for the day.
Now we are back on Wednesday.
Next Wednesday,
And
of course.
we'll
Next.
probably just come straight here from the airport.
Okay, that'll work.
And I think the flight is supposed to get in around 2.
Okay,
But who knows?
okay.
So
You knocking everything
Just-
up? I am not done, as you can see.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you were done, and I didn't get a text. So I was
yeah.
like, don't be
I
crazy.
probably have. I'm on the end stretch. So, but maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
So that's totally fine.
Okay.
I just thought, like,
Because I said earlier, I know, and I should have texted you saying, "Hey,
no, I thought you
I'm ready
texted my
to
mom
go."
and she was at home, so I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think let me double check because I actually think I have your number now.
Did you guys close at 6 though?
I close when I'm done because I live here.
Okay.
So,
I was
yeah,
sure, like,
yeah,
I didn't
no.
know you for overnight. I was
Yeah, and it's not like I'm gonna like run off and lock the door on you or pull a gun. So.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so yeah, you're Natalie, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll text you. I've got your
Okay.
number. But yeah, 20 to 30 minutes. I'm pretty close.
Okay,
Pretty
no
close.
worries.
Okay.
do you need this?
Yeah, you can leave it.
Okay.
I don't.
Where should I?
I gotta hang it up there.
That's
Really?
it. That's
She's
it.
like, wait a minute.
But what? Here's her name. I can't tell.
Riley. Riley. Yes. She's like, wait a minute. That's my mom, and my mom just left. Yeah, I promise she's gonna come back.
You're very, very cute. Okay, well, I'll let you go.
Okay.
Um,
Well, enjoy your trip.
Thank you very much. It's business.
Okay. Angus, we'll see you later, pal. I see you have all the important terriers here today.
Yes.
A Westie, Karen, and there's a Scotty outside.
Yes. My own ones.
Is that yours?
And then The Karen's
No,
the Scotty.
the Scotty.
Yeah, that's Rosie Bacon. And then I've got 2 Karens that are mine too. So yeah.
I know you have Karens.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother had a couple of Scotties. And
They're so naughty.
her Scotties are both kind of snotty, aloof dogs,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like,
They're
who are you? As
Yeah.
opposed to my Karen, our first Karen was just neurotic as hell. She just,
See, my Karens have been awesome.
have they?
Yeah.
The Westies
She's-
all just,
And I've never had a Westie. And she's the first Scotty, and she's such a bossy girl.
Yeah.
So she thinks she's in charge of the world.
well, just put Angus out there.
Yeah.
He'll bring her
Oh,
around.
no.
The Westies.
No, they've been together.
Have they?
And Rosie rules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and she
Angus?
puts you. Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah. No, Rosie is she's the queen. Well, female terriers.
The evil
Yeah.
black forces.
Yes.
Yeah, female
Dominate the
terriers
Terriers
will
are even
always. Yeah, they trump a male every time.
Kirstine's running late, and we need to let her get on.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Yep.
If
See
you
you
need
later,
anything, just
Angus.
text or whatever.
Everyone-
Angus, you're a
And
good
you'll
boy.
come back and it'll be all beautiful.
See you later.
He's like, wait a minute,
These little ones.
poodles.
So cute.
Then Pippin, I don't know why he's in there. My
He's
bather
the
put him
blind
in
guy, right?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Pippin.
I think my bather was sweeping him, putting him
How's
away.
me? Oh, yeah, I smelled you right away, Fred.
Why am I in timeout? And I went and hid Bilbo.
Where is Bilbo?
He's in, I put him in the house.
Was that the cat?
Yes.
Yes, that Angus really wants to play
Yes.
with. Please, just let me play with him.
Are these poodles, all
Yep.
of them,
All poodles.
miniature
Toys.
toys?
Yep. They're all related.
Oh, well, they all look the same.
Yep.
That's a regular size poodle, right?
Yep, this is a standard, not related.
Did you see the poodle that won?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Did-
Maybe they'll bring poodles back.
They
Everybody
look-
now is breeding to poodles. I'm like, no, just leave the poodle.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, we do a really short, very
Yeah.
short
I mean,
haircut.
that
They don't
poodle's
have to.
hairdo was ridiculous looking.
Oh, they do.
It's
look
like,
silly.
give me a break. This dog looks
So-
nice.
Yeah.
It's so much work.
And the guy who invented the Labradoodle has said, "I am
Regret it.
so sorry."
Yeah.
Because
To the whole
poodles
world.
look
I'm
what's
sorry.
happened.
What have I unleashed?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's this dog's name?
This is Riley.
Hey, Riley.
Like she actually has she's had every haircut.
Hello,
So I
Riley.
actually have done the Continental on
Have
her.
you?
Yeah, because her mom wanted to try out everything. The turkey just went.
Oh.
Yeah. So now she's doing a lot of running and hiking. So she wants something very short, easy to maintain.
I love the hair. Looks terrific.
Thank you. I love
You
it.
mean hers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
Thank you.
Riley's too. Sorry, Riley.
See you later. So we
Riley-
picking
Riley
Angus
has a
up Wednesday?
Wednesday. Yep. I'll sign up. I'll be
Okay.
back.
See
Hey,
you
we'll see
later.
ya. Okay. And let's go back. I think you got to witness what happens when, and that was actually my fault because the owner just came. Because I had told her that Riley would be done sooner, and then I didn't text her. But normally I tell all my clients that I'll text when I have 15 minutes left because it varies so much. But that's why groomers don't like it when owners come before they've told them they're done because the dog gets really upset. And even now she's like, wait a minute, my mom was here and now she's left me. So it takes a minute for them to settle in. Okay, let's get it. Then your mom can come right back, take you home. I don't know if you just noticed that, but when I need to move the dog, instead of grabbing the leg and pulling him, I typically will lift them and move them. Less aggressive. You know, it's amazing how much a dog can weigh when they want to. He's really resisting me pulling up her leg because she weighs 100 pounds all of a sudden. So I lift the opposite leg so I can get to the inside of this leg. There's no easy way to get inside here. I could twist the skin. I could try to get in, you know, here we go. So you can try to get in that way, but then you're missing up here. Try to get back this way. Simply as there, just a whoop. And you have full access. And then constantly dropping my tools. There you go. See how she's kind of jerking her leg? Not holding, I've said this a couple times where I don't like to get to really restrain them. So the harder you hold on them and tug on them, the more they're going to pull back. The problem with that is, so I've got her foot, I'm holding it out so she can't put it back, but she can pull it that way. And the problem with that is that if I'm right there and she pulls and then I jerk into it, that's going to hurt. It's not gonna cause a nick or an injury. It just hurts to poke you with a hard metal blade. But I don't want to hold her too tight because then she's just gonna resist simply because I'm trying to get in a tug of war with her. And I might win the tug of war in the short term, but in the long term, it's not going to help her feel more comfortable with me. At this point, I've been grooming her for so long that, this is what I get. But I certainly can cause her to lose trust in me. So, so her behavior now is pretty much what it's always going to be. Okay, so now we're gonna finish her with scissors. So she's a really short clip. So all I'm gonna do is try to get these areas. I don't know how well it's gonna show up on the camera. There's areas that are just slightly longer. They'll have dip or a line. And I just want to, I'm not going to be able to get them all out. That would require me to fully re-scissor the dog, and I don't have time to do that. I could do that if I were only grooming one dog a day. But if I were only grooming one dog a day, I'd have to charge like $500 for that one dog. So, I try to restrain my perfectionist tendencies, and I am not going to get a perfect groom on any dog because it's hair and it's a dog, and dogs move. So I'm going to get it as good as I can. And I've been grooming for 13 years, so I can get it pretty good. But then at some point I say, okay, that's good enough. If I keep on going, I'm going to make a mistake and then make my job worse. Or, you know, that's what we tend to do. They say I'm a better than average groomer, which means that I recognize that there are a lot of groomers out there that are better than I am. And I certainly practice and I strive to get better. And I also recognize that there's a place for somebody with my skills. What my skills might lack, I make up for in how I, my bathing and drying techniques are impeccable, and my handling techniques are impeccable, where I build a relationship with the dog. I genuinely love the dogs I groom. A lot of them love me. So what I don't have in the skill level for the perfect haircut, I make up for in other areas. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we fluff that up. I think when I started grooming, I quit my job and went to a grooming school when I was 37. I just turned 50. And I recognized that I didn't have the time to, you know, gradually get better over the years, that I had to be as good as I can, as fast as I can. And part of that was the stuff that I had control over. I hand dry all my dogs. They look better. I use the best shampoos and conditioners. I make sure that the dogs are clean, that they're blown out correctly. And that in itself heals or, you know, makes up for, you know, any loose hair that I might have up here. Get your butt. Okay, now we're going to see what we can do about this head. The only problem with taking her head so short is that now her bigger ears are going to look ridiculous. For poodles, it's all about balance and proportion. One of my favorite haircuts on a poodle leaves their legs longer than their body, and it's all about making the dog, instead of having these long skinny legs, you know, leaving a little bit of hair makes them look more pleasing. So okay. Remember, I used the 1 inch on all these sides, and I left it up here so I could blend it instead of having the bones stick out really prominently. And I need to be 1 inch taller, or my table needs to go down 1 inch more, because I can never really do the top ones short. Look, it's not bad. It's not my favorite. I certainly do more ridiculous poodle haircuts, so that's not, but as you can see, it poofs up a little bit up here. Take that down a little bit. So it's not going to be my favorite, but I think you can see what I mean about the ears. Can you look forward? Look at this. Look into how poofy the ears look now. But we didn't discuss taking the ears shorter, so I hesitate to take them any shorter. So I'm just going to maybe take 1 inch off. Okay, you can try it down. Try to round them out a little bit. Okay, so you match the length. So one of my failings, or one of the things I struggle with, is to get ears even. So frequently I'll take a picture of a dog, and then after taking a picture of the dog, realize that one of the ears is completely longer than the other. Okay, so I'll about an inch off this ear. That went well. Use the dog's. I hope that's even. Just round this off. So, once I get all these videos posted, there you go, there's Riley. Once I get all these videos posted, you will have seen all the dogs I groomed today. So this is a day in a groomer's life. As I put in the comments, if you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer. If you have any questions about tools or techniques, or you want to tell me that I'm a hack groomer, go for it. Thank you for watching. Bye.